Welcome back.
Very powered up.
Very powered up indeed. That was 20 knots-ish with a 5.2 meter parawing.
The Renegade Master Shane doing Tyndalls to Army, Westerly. We're going to both parawing out, deflate, paddle up. Well, Shane doesn't need to paddle up. She's going to be the strap thing. Strap particularly high. We're lucky. Anyway, I shan't prattle on. 1350, 60 views, 50 CNE, half degree positive shim. 76 mass, custom. He doesn't even give weight. He's got the 860 80 mass plus 960 120 rear, small fuse, and the NSP bluefin 8 foot 105 litre. It's been upside down, I've got the parawing.
So yeah, I've done a few practice sessions with the parawing leading up to this. This is my first time attempting it with an expectation to succeed. But very gusty. It was offshore conditions where we are. This paddle out is often 20 minutes sideways to the wind, and it's a bit of a pain. So the parawing is the perfect solution for this. I borrowed these parawings. I had the 5.2, 4.2 and 3.2 from one of the local legends, Stefan. They are the North Ranger parawings. And yeah, it was about 20 knots gusting, and I was really holding on for this, especially with the big foil. But you know what? The parawinging is pretty good, guys. Like, as a tool for gaining ground across wind. I can see Shane there in the background. It's very handy. And I've used it a few times since, and I think parawings are definitely here to stay. And if you're on the fence, just take the leap and buy one. Get yourself a 4 meter, depending on what your conditions are, but a 4 meters is probably correct for a good all-round size. So here it was gusting, and it was really hard to keep that wing in a usable part of the wind window. I'm definitely not a kiter, and my skills are very limited. But it worked.
How do I explain this to my water speed? I'm not current. Sorry, there's any truth there. Water speed, forgive me.
I'm not sure how I feel about using the parawing to get established on foil for the downwinder. And I say that because it's so easy to do that it takes some of the allure away from downwinding where there is potentially some consequence. So using a paddle to get on foil takes a lot of energy and skill and technique, tactics. And there's a bit of a question mark on whether or not you'll get it done, and it's very much reliant on your skills. Whereas the parawing is more of a throw it out, you're going to get on foil, that's it. Nothing else, nothing to see here. So I don't know how I feel about that. It feels like it kind of took the soul out of some of my runs. So this is my first run of 3 this day, and I only filmed this one. You'll see in a minute. I get to where I'm going, I stash the Parawing, and I pedal up and complete the downwinder. Yeah, that thing's bucking right now. So there I've done the 20-minute pedal out in about 2 minutes. So this run, yeah, I stow the Parawing, get to my feet, pedal up. Robert's your father's brother. The next 2 runs, the parawinging already felt really quite easy, and I didn't even bother deflating. I just parawinged to the wind line to get around the point, and I just deflated it and then downwinded to my destination. And on those runs, I think because I've got quite a lot of experience pedaling up now, I don't mind it that I feel like I'm cheating with the parawing. But there is still that sense of I am cheating by using the parawing to get on foil. And that definitely removes some of the achievement factor from the activity. So I'm going to have to be quite careful about that. I don't want to dilute the rewards of downwinding, because I like the sport and I want to keep doing it. And if I lose the thrill, I'm going to need something else to replace it. But as a tool, the Parawing is amazing. And as a backup option, it could be invaluable. So I've been thinking about vacuum packing a Parawing down to a really small package that I can put on my back for safety on longer runs. You know, paddles break, injuries happen. But yeah, that's the Parawing thing for now. Here we've got Bryce, another local up-and-coming crusher. We've got that's the land on the left where the wind is coming from, and it's about 4 to 6 kilometers away of fetch. That was so close to a beautiful takeoff from Bryce. He ended up struggling on this run, unfortunately, which I wasn't expecting after seeing him have that early success. You probably couldn't hear because of my crap audio, but Shane gave me that leash for the paddle for using it over the shoulder. I'm thinking I might actually use Cynthia's technique where she uses 2 of those to stick it on her back. But there we have it, nice easy paddle up to the 1350. 1350 with 50 skinny and the 60 fuse is a very fun setup for me. Surfy, amazing low end, good mid-range, and it can handle some peaks. We've got JP in the back there as well, another local crusher who's quite new to the sport, but already he's a bit of a hammer. I put the positive shim in, which I haven't done for a while. Started practicing with it. I'm of the mind now that if you're not an advanced rider and deciding what gear intricacies you should be using for yourself, then you should probably be using some form of positive shim. And what the positive shim is that it gives you lift. And if you're out in conditions like this where you don't actually want speed, you want to transfer some of your speed into lift. For one, going slow stops you from needing to navigate through sections of water that aren't ready for you to be there. And it just gives you a nice slow speed lift to keep you high on your mast, feeling of power. It takes away the need to redirect your foil upwards to gain mast height, because you just have an overall lift to the system. And in some ways, Axis has kind of removed the lift from a lot of their systems. The foil systems are quite efficient, quite point and shoot. And the beauty of Axis is they've got so many parts that you can dial in what you want. And so my recommendation is, if you're a beginner, use a positive shim. And even as an intermediate, I think if you use a positive shim, 1/4 degree, 1/2 degree, 1 degree, just try them all. I think you'll have huge successes from adding that into your system. So this is the local run along the peninsula, 4 kilometers of fetch. Decent wind today, 20 knots. It's about what you want for a nice bump here with such limited fetch. And you can have fun in these conditions. Bay run, surfing, learn your pattern recognition. You can gain a lot from going out on days like this, especially when you have a foil that makes the riding quite stress-free. I know there's a tendency to want to go smaller with gear for a lot of people. And going smaller with gear is likely going to make you fit if you can get up on foil. But honestly, consider sizing your gear appropriately to have fun. I think that's why we're doing this sport. And if you're chasing something by downsizing that isn't fun, maybe it's ego or a performance factor that you perceive, just try and open your mind a little bit. It wasn't that long ago that this 1350 Fireball, which is I think 1309 square centimeters, would have been considered a medium to small foil 3 years ago. And because things are progressing down, now it's considered a big foil, but it's still that same size that it would have been 3 years ago, which we were all using. As I'm making this video, I'm in Maui at the moment and actually have a virus. Paddle is in 2 days, so I'm hoping to get some energy back for that. But I've been talking to people about the M2O run and what foil to use, and I'm seriously considering, and I've almost decided on the 1160 Fireball, which is essentially 1,000 square centimeters. And I've been talking to a lot of people, and just recently, luckily enough, like Dave Kalama, Tomo, some of the GoPro kids that have done the M2O before. And there's definitely a mix of suggestions for me. And I would say that the majority of the pros are telling me to actually size down from the 1160, and that the 1160 is too big, and that it'll be easier on a smaller foil. And so of course they're using like 700s, 600s. They're considering 800 centimeters square a big foil now. And I actually had to think about it, because like I just mentioned, 3 years ago it was unheard of to have foils that size. People would have been doing the M2O with huge foils and making it work. And the foils that are now considered big would have been tiny back then. So this 1,000 centimeter foil that everyone's telling me is too big for the M2O would have been too small for the M2O not that long ago. So something I found with the 1160 is that it has a huge range. I'm sorry to go on about it because it hasn't got much to do with what's happening on the video, but I can go 17 kilometers an hour and I can go 37 kilometers an hour on that 1160. And I feel like that's exactly what I need on a long journey. So I've pretty much settled on that. Dave said that your first channel crossing is about exploration and survival and just being on something comfortable and that you're dialed on. And for me, that's definitely not relatable to sizing down on foils. So come M to O, and maybe even M to M, and even maybe paddle the moor in 2 days because it has a flat water section at the end. I'll probably go 1160 fireball, 64 fuse, the ultra short, and 50 skinny, no shim, and my 76 mast, and my beautiful new Frank board, which is a 9.1 by 18, 120 litres ish. Anyway, enough about that. Back to this run. Low fetch, pumping a little bit here. Riding it, trying to ride not too high because I don't really need the efficiency and speed, because it's going to surge me into areas where there's not really anywhere to go. So I'm actually better off riding low with the lift and matching the pace of these bumps. So like that's a nice little section there, no pumping, just getting pulled behind. Well, not so much pulled behind, but downwinding is a gravity sport, and your propulsion comes from gravity squeezing you down against the water surface, the water with your foil. And so you need somewhere to go, and that somewhere foiling is downhill. If you don't have an outer power source like a wing or whatnot, you need space to move, because for your foil to ride, you have to either drop using gravity, or you have to weight your foil using your energy, which is going to push it down and requires space also, but you can redirect through pumping. So maybe this is true, maybe it's not, but in some of these smaller conditions, riding slower is better, and riding your foil a touch deeper is going to keep you in the sweet spot for longer. And it can be tempting to chase zones in the ocean and keeping a high speed, but that just means you're going to have to keep clicking along new sections of water that fit your purpose, and it's just not always there. So if you can be comfortable going at a slower pace, matching the bumps. So I've just called a nice trough there. There's a lump in front, and a lump in front is going to pull a trough. I'm going to ride that uphill behind that trough. I'm turning there to stay on it. I'm weaving, people will call them figure of eights, while I'm on something good, just to prolong it. And if I just went fast, I'm just going to end up somewhere new, and you just have to re-establish in that new zone. And if you're going fast, even in that new zone, you're going to go to another new zone. And if you're willing to use energy and whatnot, that's fine. And it's probably good for racing. But for the actual art of downwinding, you really do want to match the water that you're in with equipment and skills. So I'm having fun here, 20 kilometers an hour, cutting turns, using mast height where I need it to go down the line. To me, this is downwinding, and it's super fun. Bit of a front coming in there. I start regretting not bringing a cap to protect my face from the drops. But yeah, some extra downwinding thoughts. I've probably covered that in older videos, but I haven't spoke about it for a while, the riding of the bumps. And truly, actually, a lot of it has become second nature to me, so I often overlook what I'm doing. And, potentially stalling, sitting back on a bump, letting troughs form, not overrunning the ocean. It's the 5.2 Parawing on my back, and it's a pretty small package. Barely noticeable. While I'm in Hawaii, I'm considering grabbing a couple of BRMs. I left an Ensis here last time. I might grab that back because now I'm pretty excited with the possibilities of the Parawing. I will work on these audio clarity issues. I have my GoPro in a dive case currently. I think I might need to put in some form of suspension around it so that it's not tapping on the case. I think that's where a lot of that sound is coming from, the vibration transferring to the camera, through the case, through the pedal. Maybe put some rubber grommets in there or something. I'm just sick of killing GoPros at the moment, and getting foggy lenses, and the dive case is good for the clarity of image. So I'll start with that, keep that, and I'll work on this audio. I've got some new Zyke wetsuit sections. I've got like a long john on, and then a Zyke top that I pull over. And that's quite nice because by using the long john, that covers your torso and legs, and then putting a top on, you're getting double the coverage over your torso. So these are 3mm john and 2mm top, and that gives me 5mm where it counts on my body, but still keeping only 2mm for my shoulders, 3mm for my legs. Oh, it's still super stoked on the Zyke gear. And I love that they have the pouch so that you can take a wee when you need. I was sitting with somebody in the car the other day that had been weeing in their wetsuit and it stank. And it reminded me of how grateful I am that I can wee outside my wetsuit these days. "15 kilometers an hour, 16 kilometers an hour. Plenty of lift. The shim's helping that. The shim's helping to restrict my speed and turn it into lift, instead of me needing to turn the speed into lift manually. And that's it. Nice 4 or 5k run there. Super easy. Yes, it's a bay run. Yeah, offshore winds, but you don't always have nice onshore bumps, and you should try to utilize what your local area has to offer. And with the right equipment, it's definitely possible. I've got a lot of my friends onto the 1350 Fireball for that. It still surfs like a longboard and just has such good low-end performance. Alright guys, be good, look after yourselves, hydrate, love thy neighbour. And cut.